When we got here, we immediately fell in love with this neighborhood. Mary woke up the morning after our first night here and said, I don't want to leave. And within a year, we bought a place. Uh, it wasn't just the beach that intrigued us, it was also the people. We eventually got to know a young man named Early, uh, who has a father named Oldemar, who's within a few months of being the same age as me, and is in wonderful shape, very thin, but very healthy. Uh, Early's mother has some heart issues, but she's still trucking along. But we've gradually gotten to know more and more of Early's family. They live what's called on the Chocolata, which is a main county road within a couple of miles of here. And we've been over there a couple of times now for wonderful family meals celebrating their friendship with us and our fascination and love of their family. Uh, so then there's the Espinosas, who have these three houses here on the same little enclave where we live. And when we first saw their grandchildren playing out in the yard, that was very appealing to us, to be around such natural people, happy. The children love playing with each other, and they don't fight. They're not mean. But they're happy. For some reason, most of the grandchildren are girls, but the eldest, well, I guess there may be one of the other granddaughters who's a little older than he is, but the eldest of one of the families is a man. He's now intriguing us because he's getting on his father's motorcycle now at the age of, 13 or something, and putting around on that. But the people here are just so warm and so natural, and they're kind and they're generous. And while they don't want to learn English, they do want to be friendly, and they're very flattered that we're struggling to learn Spanish, and fairly patient with us as we struggle to try to say what we're trying to say. A new development in that is that I've become much more adept at using the Google Translator. So you set it up and you hand it to them and ask them to type in Spanish what it is they're thinking about, and it immediately translates. But when second year we got here, I ran into something that bothered me. I've been involved with people who have drug problems my entire professional career. I think I'm quite non-judgmental about that subject. I'm in favor of legalizing drugs for recreational use, because the police and jail approach just does not work. I'm happy to see that now Nancy Pelosi had told the New York Times editorial board this week that she thinks we need to invest more money in treatment for people with drug problems. That's long overdue. We'll never build enough jails and prisons to house all the people who were addicted to fentanyl or cocaine or methamphetamine. But I became uncomfortable with a fellow named Gergen, who is, should have included him in my description of the people who are here. Well, he's not here full time either. He's a lot of the time, winter people from Norway. And he was encouraging people to buy cocaine from him. And I didn't like that. I'm not in favor of punitive treatment of people who have drug problems, but I don't like people pushing people to use them. I know that there's some number, like maybe 10% of people's personalities, who are prone to addiction. And you don't want to go around and encourage people to use, knowing that the next one you encourage may be one that's going to fall into a dependency and an addiction. So he was sitting next to people in the restaurant and kind of saying, "Oh, would you like a little cocaine?" And I saw him doing that. I'm an acute observer of humans. He also was told by the guy who owned the restaurant down on the beach, a guy named Yossi, who's now dying of cancer and has sold his restaurant and his nice house he had down there. We were out doing a ritual that's common here, which is worshiping the sunset, and the gringos go down on the beach, and all of a sudden, I think kind of with this Gergen's encouragement, they were smoking joints down there while they were watching, it said. And Gergen handed his joint to Yossi, the restaurant owner, and Yossi said, "I don't know if I want any of that. The last time I took a toke off one of your reefers, it really fucked me up." And so that told me again that, so I said to a guy named Alvaro, who was the restaurant manager for Yossi, I was just walking in there one day and he's, "Hi, how you doing?" And without thinking much about it, I said, "Oh, I'm fine." But I said, it makes me kind of uncomfortable to watch Gergen encouraging people to buy cocaine. Well, little did I know, Alvaro then went and told Yossi that I'd said that. And the next thing I knew, Yossi jumped on Mary when I got up to pay the tab from dinner and said, "You got to get your husband under control. He's in danger. He could get hurt. And this is dangerous." And about the next day, a guy who's a gringo, an American guy who's down here a lot, haven't seen him in the last 2 years, but when he comes down here, he stays drunk most of the time. He was telling me, "Oh, Jan, you've got to watch out. These people are going to hurt you." Well, the next thing I know, I come home and I find "fuck off" written on the concrete brick wall on the back of our house where we have a deck there. And a window broken in the back bedroom that's the nearest that wall, where Mary does her painting. And then the next day, Luke, Mary's son, was down here visiting us, and it happened that he and I were standing near the door when Mr. Gergen comes up, all puffed up like a rooster, and wanted to talk to me. And I went out, and Luke kind of followed me out, I guess. Luke is not a confrontational guy, but he's big. He's 6'3". And so Gergen said, "How dare you say I'm a drug dealer?" And I said, "Well, how dare you come over to my house and vandalize?" Well, that backed him off, and after a little more muddling, he walked away. But this is the first time and only time in my life when anybody has come to my house and threatened me or vandalized my house, even though I've been through a number of controversies politically and defending people who've committed murder and so on. This is the first time anything like this has happened, and it really upset me. And it took me a long time to get over that. I'm over it now. In the year following, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I realized that what Yossi was trying to tell Mary was, you don't question what is going on here. The things we do, that's what we do, and you can't question it. And there was another piece of this puzzle, and that was that Paul, who lives immediately by us and has about 2 or 3 lots with his house sitting on it, he had a friend that was down here. Paul is probably 57 or 8 years old, but this young man was probably 28 or 30, and he wanted to buy this house, and he didn't quite get there in time, and he didn't offer enough, and so he told us when we met him that he was disappointed that he wished he could have bought his house. But then he was saying, I'm looking all around here to find a place to buy. He's from Sweden, and he works on oil rigs, so apparently probably got a pretty good income. But eventually he set on the idea of building a house between our house and the Nicaraguan's house. There's a play yard there, but it would have been rammed right up against our bedroom window. The driveway would have been right past our bedroom window, and a guy his age who's a surfer, he'd have had friends in here on motorcycles. But worst of all for me was the disruption of this playground for these wonderful, sweet kids that I just loved to see out there so happy. And it would have crowded right into the middle of the three houses that the Nicaraguans own and cherish. So I went to the matriarch, LaFleur, and appealed to her not to go along with this idea that he was going to give him $10,000 to buy a building space there. Well, then she thought about it a little bit and announced to Paul that she was not going to sell that, and this infuriated him. So the year following my being threatened, I thought a lot about this and talked to Mary a lot about it, and I realized you just got to keep your mouth shut around these people. They've got the idea that they have an absolute, they being the Norwegian expats and the fellow from Seattle, and there's a fellow who lives real near here that's from Canada with his girlfriend, and he's built a much improved his house last year and built a swimming pool. He's here for the long haul, about 5 or 6 months out of the year. And they are united, I think, in the idea that by God, they're not going to have a retired judge come in here and make comments about their lifestyle. So I'm going to accede to that. I just don't talk to them. I don't need to. I've got plenty of conversation with Mary and our Nicaraguan friends and some others that are not all hung up on this. I'm going to be wild or free, and if I want to use cocaine, you don't have anything to say about it. Of course, now that Yossi is dying, he was the center socially of sitting on his porch and using cocaine together. So I'm at peace. I don't talk to these people. I talk to other people, and it's all fine.